Welcome to Hear From Where, a podcast about the journeys that shape us. I'm your host, Chef Andrew Garrett, and each week I'll sit down with incredible individuals who've carved their own paths in health, nutrition, entrepreneurship, sports, and beyond. This is where we dive deep into the stories of determination, resilience, and passion, the moments that brought them here, from where they started. Whether you're looking for inspiration, a spark to start your own journey, or just love hearing amazing stories, then you're in the right place. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's explore what it really takes to follow your dreams. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hear From Where podcast. I'm Chef Andrew Garrett. Today, my guest is Rachel Hinnen of For Freuda Dairy Beef here in Oregon. I'm really excited to jump into this, and in case you are following along, this is January 1st, 2026. So I'm pumped to start the year with this conversation because, as I was telling you earlier, I've been following you for a while, and I get nervous about reaching out to people that are doing really cool stuff because I'm like, I'm really not that important. And I see oh man, you're absolutely killing it. You've got really cool content. I really love the depth that you go into in your videos and how you talk about your cows. And it's not just a singular, I'm just selling you some beef. It's,
Appreciate that. I've worked very hard at that.
It shows. It absolutely shows. And another thing that you do that I think is so cool, and I think is a really important part of the food that we grow today, you call yourself a first generation dairy beef rancher. And that's huge. How did you become a first generation dairy beef farmer? Because that's not something that exists. Everybody's third, fourth, fifth, 20th. You just started this. Why?
It was funny because I was thinking about this today on my drive. So I was I knew we were going to talk about this, and I was I don't really know where to pick the starting point. It's since I was born, kind of. I've just I was thinking back through so many times in my childhood, and I'm where did that even come from? I would just, once I get an idea in my head, there is no plan B. It's just that's going to happen. And I was always very I was very much putting words into actions for change. When I was I don't know, 10, I rescued this horse from this property that was going to go to slaughter that had a club foot. And then I rescued a blind horse and he ended up in Montana. Went through, I wrote Bill Gates an entire proposal of why he should fund this, horse rescue that I wanted to start. That's what I mean. It just, goes back so far of just, action to change the world. and so, yeah, I was in horses. I was riding since I was 5, so kind of just in that, horse ranching world. Read a lot of Little House on the Prairie. My dad read it to me. I really wanted to be Laura Ingalls Wilder. I told my mom one day, I was I'm only gonna wear dresses and hand wash my laundry. And she was okay. And my family doesn't come from the country. They this isn't anywhere in any of my family. And maybe some Swiss milkmaid generations back. My family's Swiss. But so yeah, always just really interested in farming and ranching, and we would take vacations to dude ranches, and I was training horses through high school and college. I trained endurance horses and had a horse, and then when I graduated high school, I deferred admission to college and went and lived on a cattle station in Australia, middle of nowhere. My family had been to Australia the couple years before that, and I was just oh, I love this place. I'm obsessed with Australia. So I really wanted to go back to Australia, and then this opportunity came up with this cattle ranch. And I really love, it was described as a family-run tourist operation, which yes, it was. But if my parents knew what it actually was, I don't think they would have sent me. But thank goodness they didn't, because I had the time of my life. Like, this place was the Wild West. Like, I pretty much landed in a soccer field. Like, where I was going was like this tiny town no one's heard of. There's like 3 flights there a week. I got off the plane, and there's just this like giant bearded dude with a hat on, and he's just like, "Are you here for Crumbit?" Which is the name of the ranch I was at. I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I'm here to pick you up." I was like, "Okay." We just like got in a truck and drove to the middle of nowhere, and lived in like, they're practically like glorified shipping containers, just like divided into these bedrooms with like an AC unit. We were woken up every morning with a shotgun, and my boss yelling, "Get the fuck out of bed right now!" It was so fun. 18-year-old me was like, I could do this every day for the rest of my life. This is the best. Like, it was 10,000 acres. I think they had like 6,000 head. And I mean, Australia is just a, I don't know if you've been to Australia, but it is a whole other world. And I mean, we would use helicopters to round up the cattle because it was so vast. The land was so vast. And they would have like working yards to do the cattle in, like, on different sections of the property, because the property's so big, you're not going to like bring them all back to the main station to vaccinate them, preg check, all that. So yeah, I was out there, and then these like tour buses would come through, and so we'd have all these backpackers coming through, and so we would just like party all night, work all day with cattle, like getting heat stroke because it was like 120 degrees. I was like, this is amazing. I ended up going back like 6 times. And then went to school, and I got my undergrad in biology, Spanish, and German. And then went into guiding, obviously. So I did international guiding. And then I actually ended up getting a Fulbright scholarship and went over to Austria. So I'd lived in Austria for a year during college, and then got a Fulbright, went and lived in Austria again. And I'm very much just like, whatever meant to be will be. And so I didn't put like a category of where I wanted to live or what kind of school I wanted to be in. And I happened to get put in an agriculture school in the Alps. And I was like, see, it works out. And so I was living in the Alps, and this school was incredible. Like, we have nothing like this here. And this was their high school. This isn't like some specialty college program. This is high school. They had their own milking herd of brown Swiss cows. They had like, I don't even know how many acres of all their own vegetables that they grew, a fruit orchard because they had schnapps making class, they had milking class, they had cheese making class, they had prosciutto making class. They learned how to slaughter their own pigs. They had to run the farm store. It was wild. And like, all these kids were from like dairy families. So like in Austria, the dairies are comprised of like, you know, maybe 20 cows on like, and there's larger ones, but it's like the cows are up in the Alps all summer, and then they come in for the winter, and like everything is so centralized there. So like each province sources milk only from that province for the most part. It's like that's just the norm in the grocery store. This isn't like some specialty store that you have to go to. It's like the kids are like, no, like the milk at the store is like our cows. I was like, but yeah, like we don't have that. And so really got, you know, that window of sustainability, just always interested in sustainability and just like my love of animals, you know, humane handling. And I feel like it was about, 5-10 years ago, the vegan movement really just started getting, like, they were attacking the dairy industry. They're attacking all these industries. And I was just like, what is the truth? Like, you know, and so just kept seeking that out, and ended up, I'd always like dreamed of having a cattle ranch. Like when I was probably like 8, I would play with like all these longhorn like cattle sets and like build cattle yards in a barn and had the cowboy on the horse, like into it. And so Um, I ended up finding. So he runs the mobile. He used to run the mobile slaughter truck for the meeting place, Andy. I found him on Instagram and was like, "Can I ride along with you and have you show me how to slaughter animals?" He was in the mobile harvest truck, and so I did one ride along with him, and I was like, "Oh, I'm sold!" Like, and it was. I mean, it was intense. Like Marina said, in the podcast with you, how she's like, a lot of these people are like very attached to their animals. And I remember a lot of the places actually we stopped on that first day. And so learned how to process my own through him. I did like 3 ride alongs. And then I had a buddy who had 3 cows that he bought. And we'd originally actually scheduled Andy to slaughter them. And then I was like, I think I can do it. I've done this 3 times with Andy.
I'm gonna interject. I'm gonna stop here for a second because we're gonna get too far ahead of the story without getting some of the fill in the blanks.
Pause me.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Eugene.
In Eugene, so you are Oregon, born and raised.
Oregon born and raised.
Even better. I love that.
Yeah.
So a lot of times you hear stories about folks that find themselves later on in life. It sounds like you really embrace the idea of what the plan is what's going to happen. And I love that because people get really scared in those situations because not having control or not being in a situation where you're in, the driver's seat, you kind of threw it all to the wind and were like, you know what? What's going to be is going to be. That's awesome. How did you manage the feelings behind that? Because there had to be a little bit of fear maybe, or like just excitement or just a real open-mindedness of this is what's happening.
Extremely open-minded. Because people would ask me like, well, what does any of this have to do with the other thing? Because I'm like guiding in Europe, doing bike tours, and then and I'm like, does it matter? I'm just like, I don't know. And I would just be like, it's gonna all come together or it's not. Like, just not attached to the outcome, just kind of following. I kind of run everything off intuition. I think that's where we really, what's the word I want? Block a lot of opportunity when you're like, it's gonna look like this. And it's like, well, maybe it's going to look a little different, but if you're so hung up on it looking like that, you're going to miss all these opportunities.
I absolutely love that. I have not heard that phrase framed that way, like not being attached to the outcome. That's like, for anybody that's listening and like early on, like that's big, right? And I'm trying to wrap my brain around it right now because I have so many attachments to what I think the outcome should be.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see where separating that would be so much more beneficial to growth and acceptance, right? Because that's what it comes down to, is like being able to grow and accept where you're at and what you're doing.
Yeah, and it's just like literally just doing what you want. Being like, I was like, this is what I want to do right now.
That's amazing. And so now, did you have your property before or after you did a ride along with Andy at the meeting place?
No, so I was actually, when I didn't ride along with Andy, I was living in North Portland. And yeah, I've still just been leasing land.
Okay.
So I'm actually looking at buying my own this upcoming year.
Sweet.
Yeah, I've just been leasing land. Yeah. Figuring it out, which, again, that was one of those zones not being attached to the outcome. Because I've had, I look at, if you spend a lot of time thinking about the thing you don't have, then it's like, just realizing you're going to trade one thing for another. So it was like, for a little bit, I was like, oh, I just want property. I just need property. And I was like, okay, but if you have property, think of all the things you're not going to be able to do that you want to do right now. And I suppose I'm like, I'm young, and I'm like, get that done now. And then go be the lady on her property that never leaves and lives alone. Like, so it was one of those, because I like to balance all my worlds, and I do have, so, because I also ended up I have a master's in Chinese medicine. So I work also as an acupuncturist. So I had like jobs in the city. And I really do like, it's always been the trick of balancing all the dichotomies in my life of like, I could live on a cattle station in the middle of nowhere for the rest of my life and like be stoked. But then I'm also like, I do like, some of the city things. Like, I like to have both those sides. So I've always been trying to figure out, like, how do I achieve both? Because if you live out in Eastern Oregon, in the middle of nowhere, which is like our closest thing to the outback, it's like, okay, you're going to be removed from these other things. So always balancing that. Because then also while I was in college, I told everyone, when I graduate college, I'm going to become a stripper. And we're just like, okay, yeah, whatever. And I was like, no, like, that's what I'm going to do. So I graduated, got my degrees, and then I went and became a stripper. And so I like have also been doing that for the last 11 years. And so wanting to really be in that industry as well, you can't live in the middle of nowhere. So that's been like my whole way out of all of this is like, okay, pacing it all and how do we make it all work? So I'm very spread out right now, to say the least, and I am excited to be consolidated.
That's awesome. What an amazing like journey. And like, again, your creation of balance in professional, personal, educational life. I think that that's something that people really resonate to, right? Because that's something that so many people strive to find. And again, like that, not attached to the outcome and being able to have this openness and then also have an awareness of, okay, you know what? Balance is important to me. That's fantastic. And I wouldn't even have, again, like I'm just a chef. And so the idea of leasing land to raise and finish dairy cows is like, again, I'm learning. This is awesome. I dig that. And
Yeah.
so,
Oh yeah, go ahead.
oh no, you've gone the ride along. You've found some leases, and now you've got some cows.
Yeah, so it was my buddy had 3 cows, and they were actually Jersey cross steers from a dairy. It was like a guy who bottle fed them, and kids, and they would sell them.
Oh,
And so I was like, okay, I can do this. And so I had Andy on like speed dial first day because I was just like, let's go by remember the steps. And so yeah, my buddy dropped the animal for me, and then all we had was like a tiny tractor. We were supposed to use like the neighbor's big tractor, and he was using it. We were like, we're gonna have to do it this, and we're having to like cable it across other trees because it's like gonna fall over with a cow on it. And I mean, it probably took me like over 4 hours to do this whole cow, and we hung it and aged it because there was like the neighbor they built a whole walk-in cooler for their elk hunting. And so we were able to like age it there. Cut up the whole beef by ourselves. No idea what was what. Literally, we had a Coleman stove, and we would cut a piece off, drop it in, and we were like, "This is chewy front quarter. This is." And it was like a million vacuum sealed bags of bits. And like, I thought it was like, and then we proceeded to do the other 2 cows, like as we ran out of beef, and then so we had blonde cow, black cow, and brown cow, and we got down to brown cow and black cow, and we were gonna do brown cow, and I was like, well, we can't kill brown cow and leave black cow all alone. We need to give them some friends. And so then I picked out these 2 Holstein heifers that I found on Craigslist. This was like height of COVID. This crazy pink eye strain in cattle blew through the whole Willamette Valley. Like, they've never seen anything like it. Obviously, this is what happened during COVID. and it wasn't responding to like any of the medications, all these things. So this guy had gotten like, I don't know, 15 calves from this dairy that was like, we can't handle this. And his kids, he was like, here's my kids' summer COVID project. It was doctoring these calves. So I went down, picked out 2, we brought them up, and we processed black cow. And that was actually how, this was like kind of how I first started intersecting with Morena, was, you know, she worked at the meeting place. I was friends with Andy, and he just kept being like, you two need to meet each other. And he was like, I think she'd be up for like helping you cut your beef. I'm like, she wants to drive 2 hours on her weekend to help me cut this beef. He's like, yes. I was like, oh, okay. So I texted her, and I was just like, hey, you know, Mandy's friend. He was like, hell yeah. So like, Friday on a Sunday, and I'm just like, I love this lady.
It is such a Morena response to that. Is like, I feel like she's just waiting at home, just waiting for someone to text her that like exact thing. Yeah, yeah, and like just the excitement because she's for if you haven't listened to the episode with Morena yet, go back and listen to it. But that's fantastic. Yeah. So you got connected.
Yeah, she just is like flying through this part. She can't wrap it as fast as she's cutting it. She was just like, these are here, these are right back, these are back. Yeah, and then she's like, okay, I gotta go, bye. It's just like, okay. And we're all just like trying to paper wrap all this stuff and label it, and so that was kind of how I first met Morena, and we started intersecting. So yeah, in that, we then had these 2 Holstein heifers, and they started going through fences like nobody's business. So like dairy cows, you know, like you put a hot wire and the jerseys act like it's on fire. Like they will not cross that single tiny wire. But this one Holstein in particular, she would like close her eyes and just like go through it. And my friend whose property was on absolutely fucking lost it. Like there was just like mental breakdown of the year, and was like, you have 2 weeks for these cows are hamburger. And I was just like crying. I'm like, no. You can't do that. So I called Andy, and I was like, where the hell do I put 2 cows? So he said, I was like, where do you even start? Like, it's not like you just throw them in someone's lawn. Like, I'm just like, I don't have a truck, I don't have a trailer, I don't have anything. Like, driving around for, and I'm just like, where do I put cows? And he was like, let me call this one customer of mine. So then he connected me with her, and she said, is she crazy? And Andy was like, yes. But she's like my sister. So she was like, okay, let her in. So I moved these cows to Malala, to this lady's property that I just met. And I was like, well, now what? What do I do? And so then people were asking, like, well, when is this going to be a business? And blah, blah, blah. Like, when are you going to sell beef? And I was like, I guess now. And Morena had been, like, some everyone's like, where'd the dairy cow thing come from? I've never had dairy beef, like the retired dairy cows. I tried those steers that we had, the crosses. And Morena was like, older cows are the best beef. I don't even remember why we were talking about it. And so I just started getting interested in it, and it was kind of like there was all that propaganda going on against like the dairy industry being demonized, the beef industry is being demonized. So it's like, well, what better than we could like represent both industries and like find out what's the truth of both of these. And I was standing in my buddy's pasture helping him build fences, and I just remember looking at him and his wife, and I was like, I'm going to take old dairy cows and turn them into beef. And they were just like, okay. Just started to it. And so those two old things, I still have them. They're 6 years old this year. They stayed. And yeah, they were pretty much like, you guys were the genesis of this. Like, and that was one of those, like, I don't know where this is going, but it was just like, I know I need to keep these cows. And it's just like each step. And I think that's kind of just how I operate, is like one step at a time. Like, all I know is I need to get these cows out of here. I don't know what we're doing after that. And then it's like, okay, now the cows are out of here. What's next?
So I'm you started doing this in COVID.
Yeah, I was like in the middle of my master's program in COVID, and I'm like, let's start a beef business.
Everybody in the world is shutting down what they're doing and stopping and panicking, and you had the wherewithal to settle in and say, well, there's work to be done. Like, holy shit, dude. Wow. That's awesome.
I would like stand on, because that's what I mean. I'm like, it's all when you're like, I start all over the place. I'm like, that's my brain. The only way to tell the story is like, there's no one thing. And like, it was during I was getting my master's in the middle of COVID, and so they switched to online. And I was like, I can't just sit here and watch classes. So I would sit and chop beef tallow, because I'd had a skincare company that I started, obviously.
Obviously. Clearly, you got the Chinese medicine. You got the okay. All right. I see where this is.
What, 10 years ago? It was, because it was after I lived in Europe with the tour company, not with a different time in Europe. Right? So I worked for the guiding company in the Czech Republic, and it was like these high-end bike tours. And we'd go to this bohemian lodge, and they had these skincare products. And I was like, I've never seen anything like it in my life. And I was like, I need to make it. And so, and I'm very much like, if you want it done right, just do it yourself. Like, I just need to figure this out. So I like bought a bunch of their stuff, took it home, translated all the ingredients, and like started trying to figure out these body products, because I was just like, these are so good. And like, anything I start, I'm like, this is going to be the best version of this thing. Like, and so I just like went for it with figuring out the skincare line. And then I was like, well, I should make soap out of cow fat, obviously. And so then I started getting tallow from Arena. And so during COVID, I would stand in class and like chop tallow and then render it and like make soap. So I was like, I have to have something to do while I'm watching all these practice online.
Like, this is some beautiful mind shit. Like, you're literally in a master's program, but your mind is moving at such a speed that you need to slow yourself down by chopping tallow to support your small business. Like, are you like get out of here? Like, this is unreal, dude.
Say that because I've actually said that multiple times. I was like, I feel like John Nash sometimes, and like, I'm like, we're standing and the whole board's just like covered in all this stuff, and he knows exactly what it says. I'm like, that's this.
Trust me, like, I get it. I mean, I'm not nearly at that level, but I've got I call her my sister, and she's the only person that I've ever been able to do events with or like organize my shit, because she's what I call an Andrew. She speaks Andrew, because my notes are, like, I don't know where they're going. Like, they're just a bunch of notes on a piece of paper. I understand it, but anybody else looks at it like, what?
Yep. Yep.
That's so awesome. So, okay. So, you and I are going to get easily distracted here, which is great. So you are like, I mean, so I grew up in dairy country. I grew up in farm world and rural California, and like, not many ranchers have the brain that you clearly have. And I mean, that's not a dig on ranchers. Like, I love my ranchers,
Yeah.
but you see problems in real time and you're coming up with solutions to those problems. So you recognize this deficit, an attack on dairy, an attack on beef, and okay, well, how can I create something that solves both those problems? And you went to retired dairy cows with that. And that's a trip because, the average American, we're told from the get-go is like, oh no, you got to have prime Angus beef and that's the best beef in the world and it's grain fed and grain finished. And, now here we are today. Or it's like, well, no, grass fed's the thing. Or like, but no one ever says, hey, you know what's great? Old dairy cows.
Tell me about
it. So like, you're jumping into it. You're creating a market that really hasn't existed unless you grow up in that, right? Like I grew up eating dairy cows because they were the cheapest ones to buy because, well, she's not producing milk anymore, so she's just going to go to dog food. Right? And so you recognize this problem and you're creating a solution for it, and that's amazing. What has that been like for you? So you got your 6, and I would love to talk about different breeds of dairy cows because I love dairy cows. And you touched on your crazy dairy cow, and I love her already because people don't get a chance to see the personality that exists in those animals. Like ruminants as a whole are hilarious to me. They're just the goofiest, funnest little critters that are giant, ridiculous fluff balls that'll kill you. But they've got these wild personalities, and I feel like there's no cow that I've ever met has the same personality as the cow standing next to it.
No, they're so unique, and that was Domino. It was funny because, like I said, she would go through those fences, and even when I moved her to like this property had been used for cows, she would dolphin flip out of these fences. Like I was like, how? You're huge. How do you do this? And I learned how to make the best fences. And I was like, everyone's like, the amount of times people are like, you need to shoot that cow. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like this cow knows something I don't. So I'm just going to keep following her and learn how to build really good fences. And her sister, I call her sister. I'm sure they're related some way, but the kid was in farm. But her sister was kind of like, they're kind of like Tweedledee, Tweedledum. Like, not a lot going on up in her head. And she just, like, drools a lot. Ever since I got her, she just drools. It's just kind of like, hi. And, like, Domino, you can't touch her. But she's, like, the really pretty one. And she has these, like, insane heat cycles where she screams for 2 days straight. Through the night, through the day. I was like, I love her. So they have such a personality, and like they, I'm trying to remember where we started on this tangent because you were saying something that I was like, yes, then that's gonna lead me to remember this. Where did we start with that? Dairy beef,
COVID, personalities.
Anyhow, so
solving problems.
They were going to be a part of the beef program, but then I was just like, I called them my North Stars. I was like, just follow the cows. Like, follow the cows. Whatever they want. And I moved those cows. I think we've moved to 4 different properties. I was like, load up, ladies. We got to go. Like, them all over the place. They come with me. But yeah, and actually when I started it, I was just like, there is no building block for it. Like I said, America doesn't have they all go to Taco Bell. They all just go to dog food, Taco Bell, things like that. And I was like, okay, you obviously can't just grab any old dairy cow. Like, there's a secret to picking the right ones. And how do I find this out? And so I couldn't get anyone to talk to me. I mean, I was spent so many hours on the internet, on the phone, like writing people in other countries because like it's huge. In Spain, it's the best beef in the world. Like, that's what's in the restaurants that people wait a year to get into. Like, it is the vaca vieja, which is just like the funniest when Americans call it that. Like, this is like the most rebranding, like, old cow. Like, it's an old cow. But if you say it's sexy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. 100%.
And I was like, it's an old cow. And so the only person I could get to talk to me was this guy in Australia, obviously. He's called the Butcher Matt on Instagram. I don't know if you follow him. He's insane, and I love him. Like, the man does not give a fuck. And so he is obsessed with Jersey beef. And he was the only person I could get to talk to me about, like, anything about it. So I'm just like, where do you even start? And then it was like, okay, how do I buy an old dairy cow? Because I didn't have a truck, I didn't have a trailer, I didn't have anything. And I was just like, how do I get them? And so I just started cold calling dairies. Like, Googling dairies and just being like, hi. I'm trying to, like, get the whole pitch out. So it's like, I have, like, 10 seconds to sell these people on this idea. They would just kind of be like, I had one, they're like, you don't want old dairy cows. And I was like, no, I do. I do know that is what I want. And so I started just, like, creating my own system with these farmers, because it was like most dairies don't have a scale like beef farms. So, like, the first 2 that I bought, I drove like 2 hours to this farm, and I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know how much these should cost. I don't know anything. And he was just like, I think he sold, I can't remember what he sold them to me, the first one. But one of them was the son's favorite cow. And I was like, oh. And just the nicest people. And I was like, I will take the best care of your cow. Like, but that's like, it was one of those, I was like, oh, this also has like this other meaning of like, and that was what I wanted to like kind of prove to the world. I'm like, these people love their animals. Like, stop demonizing dairy farmers. Like, they love their cows. Like, you can't keep them all. And like, dairy margins are razor thin, if not in the negative. But it's like, you have to just keep moving through. But I'm like, they love these cows. Stop making it out to be something that it's not. And I finally had like the firsthand experience to be like, no, I've seen it myself. Like, and so we had those 2 cows, and like that one, he was just eyeballing them. It was just like, I think they weigh this. So I was like, okay, sure. And then like another guy was just like, I called him, and they had a Holstein, because those were jerseys, because I wanted to, like, I didn't know which breed, and everyone told me Holsteins were crap. So obviously I was like, well, I'm going to get a Holstein and find out for myself. That was the first cow that I processed. It was a Jack Holstein. And then Morena and I would go out to the meeting place after it'd been hanging for a bit, and like she and I would walk through the carcass, and she would start showing me like what to look for. Because I mean, from beginning to end, dairy cows look nothing like a beef cow. Like,
nothing.
A fat dairy cow still looks like an emaciated beef cow. Like, and so that was it. It was like I had to start developing an eye for what they look like on the outside, how it's going to translate on the inside, because they never look quote unquote great. Like, you have to just completely retrain the framework of like what it's going to turn out like. And so she would walk me through each carcass. We would like sample them. So she would cut off part of the hanger for me, and she was like, the flavor and texture of a hanger is a really good picture for the whole cow. Like, if the hanger's good, the rest of the cow will be good. So yeah, it was just like, because I couldn't get anyone to talk to me, I was like, I'm just going to have to start processing cows and like see what we get. Like, we just got to go for this. And I mean, I didn't know anything about feeding programs. I didn't know any of that. I was just like throwing alfalfa at them and doing rotational grazing. This farm I was on, like, she did rotational grazing, so she started teaching me about some of that. And like, I'd read, a lot of the Alan Savory stuff and all that. So yeah, I was like, I have no idea how long it's supposed to last. Like, yeah, we just gotta do it. Um, and then it was like, well, how do you sell it? Because that was also during the wake of COVID where you couldn't get a USDA date to save your life. Like, the processing was a disaster. And so I could only do the mobile slaughter where they came to the farm. And the legalities of that, as I'm sure you know, it's like you're selling the loophole is you're selling the live animal. And then they're hiring you to process it. You can only sell it as quarter, half full. You can't sell retail cuts, which is for food safety, which is just makes no sense at all. It's like if you
Makes
buy
no
it
sense.
as a quarter, it's food safe, but if I sell it individually, it's not safe. So it was like, how do you move beef quarters? So I just was like talking to all my friends, like selling on a product that I hadn't even tried.
No, trust me. Yeah, it's gonna be great, guys. It's gonna be great. Trust me.
And my friends always be like, "You're like a politician." Like they're like, "You know, like you just talk like." And I was like, because in my head I've had it and it was amazing. I was not like bullshitting people. Like I was just like, it's gonna be good. And so I actually sold a lot of it through the strip club. I would like sell beef in dances.
You look like you look like a strong guy. Like probably eat a lot of beef. Like let me tell you about the good stuff.
Exactly, and I'd be like, give them the whole elevator pitch, and I'm like, would you like to buy beef 24 minutes? And I sold multiple that way. And then I like the bartenders at work bought them, the girls at work bought them. Like that was like my first real like sales was through everything through the club and like combining the industries. And it's like, yeah, talk about three demonized industries coming together. Representing three. So yeah, that was how I moved the first beef was through there.
That's so awesome. I love that.
And yeah, then people were like, wow, this is really good. And that was the other thing too, was it was like the dry aging, like that was the crux of the problem. Was I was like, everything I saw was like dry age it. Like dry age the prime, but really takes it to this next level. Well, custom exempt, you know, that's not what they do. And so Morena being Morena, she's like, I'm gonna make you a dry aging system. People on these quarters are getting 45-day dry age shade with their beef quarter. I'm like, they don't even know what they're getting.
I have no idea. This guy's just excited that like this gal's dancing and he's like, yeah, look at beef. Yeah, sure. Like, and now he's got some of the best beef in the fucking country. Okay.
$200 thing. And so I was just like, we have to nail this. Like, we have to nail this. And so it was like, I think we actually took one of them to 60 days even. And so, yeah, we were doing like 45-day dry aging, 60-day dry aging. She had the whole thing set up for me, like in the drip cooler. And it was absurd. And, like, I mean, I would not exist without Morena. Like, it was just like, she was in it and she was here for it. And I was just like, this is amazing. And so she and I really just started like, she would send me pictures when they cut the beef. I would get like a portfolio of every cut. And she would tell me what she saw as far as like the grain quality, the fat quality, like she would give me an entire report on every single cow. And so I was able to start like narrowing down what worked. And I mean, none of them came out bad. It was just like, which things do I want as part of it, and which breed, and all of that. And so we also at one point, I got my hands on a 15-year-old jersey. It was someone's pet, and they were like, "I can't bear to eat it," and I was like, "I'll eat it."
Bet, like, sign me up. Like.
And so we had her process, and then Morena and I was like, I want to try everything with this cow. So we did 100-day whiskey age on this cow. We did wine aging. We did like everything. And yeah, but I was like, that's what we had to do because it was just like, I have no data on this. So we just gotta like, what's the 15-year-old jersey like? What's the 10-year-old? What's the 3-year-old? You know, like, but just go through experience. So yeah, those were like the first days. And I would like drive out to Malala pretty much every other day and like rotate all the cows, drive back into the city, like all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was some wild beginnings.
That's and I love those. Like that's an origin story, right? Like you can't write a Hollywood script around something like that because it takes so many pieces, and you could tell that to someone who's not around the industry or hasn't been near it, and they're like, okay, like, and so I feel like translating that into a language that the average consumer can really understand is a hard thing, right? Like, how do you
Yeah,
convince someone that doesn't know anything about, they only know what they see on TV or what they've grown up with, what they've really like what they've, get at Fred Meyer or Safeway or New Seasons
yeah,
or Whole Foods. The trust is in the store, right? We have a disconnect from trusting our ranchers, from trusting our butchers, really, right? Like, and you spend enough time in Europe. I've spent enough time in Europe to see like every little village, every little town has a butcher shop or two.
yes.
And you go to this butcher for that thing and that butcher for that thing.
And you
And
know, the
so
bread
we don't
store
have
for
that.
bread, and the cheese
Exactly.
for cheese.
Yeah, we don't have that in America. And it's
No,
not that we can't. It's not that we don't want it. It's just that the system's been kind of designed a specific way.
it's
But
not.
that's a whole nother conversation. I'm gonna avoid that one right now. But you said the magic word for me. You said hanger steak.
Yeah,
Like, oh my god! Like how people don't understand
no.
how good hanger
It's
steak
getting
is.
thrown in the grind. I think we should make shirts that say "Save the Hangers."
Oh my god! Like it's one of the things that drives me nuts. I was lucky enough last year on an elk hunt to get some whole carcasses off of the field, and I was able to show the guys that I was hunting with, like, dude, this is the hanger steak. This is the greatest thing ever. And they're like, oh, I never even knew that existed. Because, like, of course you don't. Like,
Yeah,
why would you?
yeah, yeah.
And we grilled up elk hanger steaks that night, and they were like, oh my god. Like, yeah, oh my god is right.
Like, bro, you've been grinding those.
Yeah, you've been wasting the good stuff. The same thing. I do a lot with like heart and tongue. I like the weird stuff just because that's how I grew up eating it.
Yeah, well, it's the good stuff.
So
I mean, it really is.
It really is. And one thing that kind of resonates with me, and I'm sure that it hits with the normal buyer that's out there, is, when you first see dairy cattle, when you first see that dairy beef, it doesn't look like what you see in the store. It doesn't have that pearly white fat. It doesn't have the big heavy marbling through the middle. Like you said, I mean, most of these dairy cows like really look like emaciated beef cattle, right?
Yeah.
And so why let's just break down, why does that fat have that yellowish color to it?
Well, so this is what's been a really interesting voyeur in all of this too, because that was okay, man. I'm getting annihilated. Oh, gotta get off the couch. It was like, because I'd had that the yellow fat, with the little Jersey steers we've done, and that was one of the really big hurdles. Was like, okay, how do I explain this to the consumer and why it's good? So it was like, and it was really every level of the process is just been like something new, like the breed, how it looks, how it smells, how it tastes, like how I kind of framed it for customers was I was like, America has been trained that beef fat is white, the color is kind of like a pale red, and I was like, that's been amazing for the Angus industry. I was like, the Angus was really the Starbucks of beef because they wanted that replicable product. You put this much in, you get this much out. And like, it's going to look like this, whether people eat it or not. They just want that visual of that big steak. And it was like, okay, these are going to be smaller. They're going to be a different shape. They're going to be a different color. And what's been funny with the yellow fat is people say like, oh, it's because they're grass fed, or they're this, or they're that. Honestly, I'm like, after now cutting open all these cows, I'm like, I think it has to also just do with the cow. So like, I made this video. I still have to post it. It was all the same breed, all the same diet, all the same farm. Every single steak looked completely different. Some had like a creamy white, some were like neon dark yellow. So I had to be careful of how I sold people on the yellow because I was like, it might be yellow, might be not. And they're just like,
yeah, okay.
So, okay, so now we don't know what it's going to look like. And I mean, people are like, well, dairy beef, I've had a lot of comments on Instagram, just like, why are we doing this? And I was like, because this makes no sense to a commercial production line. Like, I literally have no idea what a cow's going to look like when I cut it open. Like, I have a general idea, like, this one's going to be good. And I'm like, this is a nice fat one. It's going to have good marbling. But I'm like I said, oh, that one was creamy white. This one is dark yellow. So I think there are factors. Age definitely plays into it. The really old ones are a lot more likely because they've just had that time of building up the beta carotene. But I try to explain to them, like, cows are like humans. You process sugar might give you diabetes, but not me. Like, they're unique animals. And so that's really been the approach now that I've taken rather than like, dairy beef fat's yellow, this is why you should like it. I'm just like, just accept variety in nature. And that's the most sustainable choice you can do. Because I promise you it's going to be good. And if you don't like it, you can tell me. So, no one's not liked it. So it was really just like, okay, how do I not dig my own grave by being like, eat yellow fat, and then half of it's not yellow. So, yeah, to me, it's the unique composition of like each cow. I'd say the Guernseys almost always come out yellow, which is very interesting. And I know that like they're one of the highest cream content cows. I've had one Guernsey turn out kind of more white. But the Jerseys are kind of, it's like 50-50. And then the Holsteins are, I've only done a few, but they've all come out like a very cream color. The Holsteins don't seem to turn as yellow as Jerseys and Guernseys and all that. So it's very interesting.
Now, so we're throwing around names of breeds here.
Yeah.
Do you have a video? I feel like I've seen a slide on your Instagram that has Holstein, Jersey, Guernsey, like listed, like showing the difference. Because
it's
one
funny,
of the things
that's actually been content I'm working on.
So one of my favorite things, because again, if you don't grow up in a place where you see different, and if you don't know the difference, you get made fun of, which was my experience. Is like, so now every time we're driving anywhere in the country or like through Dairyland and Christina's in the car, I'm like, oh, that's a Jersey cow. Like, look how cool that is. Like, oh, look at the Holsteins. Like, there's a whole animal. Like, and she looks at me like I'm a lunatic. And I'm like, okay, whatever, nerd. You don't know the truth. Like, but I think that's another thing that, as Americans, we have an association with the final product. We don't have an association with the actual animal itself. And that's another thing. You kind of hit on it earlier too, is that relationship that you have with these animals. We have such a strange, we want to be disconnected from death, right? Like, we don't want to accept the death of something for us to survive. Yeah. And I think that that's hard for a lot of people to process, because again, if you don't grow up with it, you don't have that empathy or compassion. Maybe, I don't know what the word would be for it, but like, how have you managed through having these like close relationships with these animals to take them to the slaughter and putting them on a plate? Like, how's that been for you?
I mean, I tell people like, and it's a lot deeper down in my Instagram now, but I like did an entire beginning to end showing the animals being shot, bled, like every single step, because I was just like, that was a really big part when I went into business, was like making sure that people see it, because And when I tell them, I'm like, this should be hard. Like it just shouldn't just be like, whoop, yep, kill another one, we're good to go, what's next? Like, it's just like, no, this should be hard. Like, that's okay. And I think that's really more the crux of things, is like, we're so not okay with discomfort. People just want to live with their head up their ass, honestly. Like, it's just like, and that's why the vegan stuff drives me insane, because I'm just like, you're still killing so many things. And I'm like, it's just different than shooting a cow, but you're killing a whole ecosystem. So I'm just like, it's this like, I'm a lot better now. But I used to lose a lot of energy being so enraged with people wanting to just live in the hell. So it was like, how do I present this information in a way that people will listen, not just like shove it in their face, like, 'cause that's not gonna work. Like,
right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I had a friend, they were like, it does get easier. And it does. You get like, it doesn't become easy, but you do like figure out your rhythm with it. I mean, the first cow I did, I was like, I spent the night at the farm in the lady's house. Like, I was just like crying, and I was like, what am I doing? And I actually used my 2 pet Holsteins. I called them the Judas cows. Is they would like lead them in and spend the night with the cow that was going to be processed, and then like, because they would follow me out, and then they would just like drop the other cow. And I would always on farm slaughter, I would like light sage for them. I would like, I was like creating a ritual. Like, I was like, let's just create a ritual that's like to help work through this. And I'd say it was very multifactorial of the slaughter crew is really good. Like, they do a really good job. And then once you see it, like, you can't argue with that. Like, you're just like, that cow was just standing there and then it was gone. Like, you're like, I hope my death is that good. Like, it was just like living in pasture and now it's not. Like, and so I think that's really just like accepting the big picture. Because that was it too. It's like, okay, well, if I hadn't gotten this cow would have been burgered anyways, and it would have been trucked a lot more, and like gone through auction, gone through all these other stressful things. Instead, it went straight from his farm to my farm, and now it's done. So using logic, but then also just accepting that, like, yeah, this is shitty. And so, yeah, I think it's having the respect for them and just that understanding, but also like, this is your purpose in life. Like, and using them to their highest purpose. And that's been the whole thing with the dairy cows. I was like, these marbled ribeyes are ending up as ground beef. That's a crime. Like, so really using them to their highest purpose. And then that's part of my like whole animal stuff too, is so like that cow that was the son's favorite cow, I shipped her hide to the East Coast, and I had it vegetable tanned, and then I had it turned into like wallets and bracelets and everything, and I like saved her ear tag, and I got him a wallet made out of her, and like gave him her ear tag in the wallet, and like using every single piece. And I render all the tallow down, and I have a whole body product line of like soap, candles, body butter, face cream, beard balm, eye cream. Like, it's a whole other business, honestly, of trying to use every bit, and I had a woman start like a bone broth line for me. So she takes all the bones, has a commercial kitchen that we do it in, and makes this like concentrate. So it's essentially like a 32-ounce jar condensed into an 8-ounce jar, so you don't have to store the whole thing.
Brilliant.
You just can scoop out some broth, put it in your boiling water. If you want to sip it, you can add it to a whole recipe. So yeah, like, the best way to respect them is by, like, to me, is using every part and telling their story, And like, if they come with names, like, I call them by their name. And like last night, I had a customer send me a picture of a steak, and I was like, oh, that was sweet. And I like sent him a picture of her. And he was like, I'm going to show this to my daughters. Like, so I'm really like putting the face to it and telling people, like, I had, so this one place, I got their favorite cow. I mean, it was like, I've had multiple people's favorite cow, which, like, I'm like, thank you for trusting me, like, with this cow, you know? And, like, and Marsha, I, like, still regret not keeping Marsha. I really wanted to keep her as a pet. I was like, can't have a fourth pet cow. Because I have a third pet cow. That's a whole other story. And she actually won me second place at Best Beef in the West in Wyoming last year.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's like, everyone that bought Marsha, I told them, I was like, this is Marsha. This was the farmer's favorite cow. And they would, like, covet it. And they were just like, oh my God, Marsha, you know, like, and they, like, hoard their Marsha steaks. So really making the most of, like, each cow in that way. And everyone's been very responsive to that. No one's been like, oh, don't tell me that. Like, so yeah.
That's awesome. I absolutely love that. I also cried the first time I ever took one of my hogs that I raised to slaughter. Like it's an emotional thing.
It's intense.
You're like what you're doing is you are providing these animals this amazing life cycle, right? Like they've had this singular purpose and then all of a sudden they get a second purpose in their life.
Yeah.
And then they have a third, and it's like they aren't just getting loaded. Like, not many people have ever really seen what it's like to go to a cattle auction or even stand in an auction yard where these cows are around. You know, and again, I don't think that as humans, I think as humans we can recognize that cows have a connection with the other cows around them, right? Like,
yeah,
they do. And if you spend enough time around these animals, you recognize that and you can see it. And when you go to an auction yard and you're like looking at all these cows in pens around a bunch of strange cows, they're all confused, they're all stressed out, they're all like, what's happening? And then that's not the final. Like, then they're going to get put, you know, through rail and then put up onto a truck and then shipped who knows how long in this vehicle that's moving at a speed that they've never experienced just to get put into another pen. You know, and so what you're doing is like, to me, it's beautiful. And I think that it's awesome to hear that the folks that are supporting you and buying beef from you recognize that and really want to, you know, they appreciate that as well. Because that's not the norm, right? It's not.
And it's been, and like what I hate too is then people, and what I've really been trying to be deliberate about in building a business too, of like when talking about like, okay, you know, it's keeping them from going to auction and all these things. I'm like, but don't demonize the farmers then sending them to auction. Like, what? I'm like, this is the system that's been created, and like, stop attacking the freaking farmers.
Yeah, well, you know, y'all get demonized because
you're
killing this innocent animal. You know, that's
or like they're shipping them to auction. It's like, yeah, because that's the only option. Like, it's that's not the farmer's fault. Like, I listened to this really good podcast with this rancher in Wyoming the other day, and he's doing all this like incredible regenerative stuff. And he phrased it so well. He was like, if we had the data that like the regenerative stuff pays off and works, he's like, they would all come over. But like everyone's just trying to survive. Like, and that's the industry that we've created. Like, it's not like, oh, we love packing cows into a feedlot because it's fun. Like, it's just like, if you want beef, this is literally how we have to do it. Like, this is the system that's been built, and this is the system I can barely even say is profitable, because farming is notoriously not. Like, and I think that's the other thing people can't wrap their minds around is how much money people lose doing this. And like most of the farmers are in insane amounts of debt and have to declare bankruptcy, or like it's one of the highest suicide rate professions. And so, yeah, I think it's because people just are like, well, why would you work so hard to make no money? And it's like, well, who else is going to feed you? And change that system. So, yeah.
It's crazy. I did a podcast earlier last year with the sixth generation farmer in Nebraska, and they're working towards creating regenerative agriculture and the whole system that he spoke to. I had no idea how crazy it is that someone that's as young as he is or yourself who are doing this, like jumping into this industry that is not tech. It's not this, oh, I'm going to make $1 million this year. Like that's like this. It's not a glorious profession by any means. Like this is something that y'all do from your heart. It's something you do as a passion. It's something that you do to make the world a better place. And I don't think that many people really understand how important what you're doing is, right? Like we really take for granted hearts and minds like yourself who are putting this effort forward at, like you said, like darn near a loss. Like that's hard for me to wrap my head around, right? And I try my darndest to encourage my clients to shop local, like, because again, like, you know, buying a quarter, buying a half, buying a whole, that's not easy to do. Like you can't like most people don't have somewhere to store it. They don't have somewhere, you know, I was actually I was driving out to the coast to go fishing the other day, and I'm wrapping my head around, because I was anticipating our conversation, like wrapping my head around like problems to the eat more locally raised beef, and what is the solution to creating that opportunity? Like where's the hangups? And I'm talking to my clients. It's like, well, I don't have space. Well, I tricked 2 of my clients into getting a chest freezer, right? And now they're on this like, oh, you know, we bought, you know, a quarter cow from this, but then they're like, well, I don't know how to cook this. So, you know, what is a chuck roast? What is an ossobuco? What do I do with oxtails? Like, you know, all these things that people don't really understand. So it's such a multi-layered problem solution that exists. And I think that folks like yourself, Morena, I'll throw my hat into that ring of like trying to educate people on how to utilize the whole animal is such an important thing. But in my mind, I'm like, how do I got to build a freezer in my, you know, outside my house where people could come pick up their shares, or they could store their shares and pick it up as they need it. And like I'm on this solution thing right now. Like I'm like yourself. I'm always like, there's got to be something, right? Like there has to be a solution to this, to where we can have this really good product in a sustainable fashion.
Well, and that's like, I started dabbling in like subscription boxes, because that was my thing. It's like I didn't realize that people hadn't heard of hospice, and like I just go, no, I'm just like, oh, okay, we gotta like take this even more steps back, and that has been part of the overwhelming process. But also, like, I feel like I'm finally finding, like, again, one step at a time with it, because I'm trying to essentially like create recipe cards for like every kind, so that it's like when you get your quarter, you get a guide, you know. And I tell people, I'm like, you can always call me. Like, I follow the product entirely, so it's like, in keeping that like one-on-one with people, making sure it's a good experience, you know, going through all that with them, because it's just like, I promise this isn't hard, and you're gonna really like it. And like, when we go to farmers markets, if they're indoor markets, like I'll bring a sample, and like I brought ossobuco a couple weeks ago to one, and because the thing with dairy beef, it was like, and that's it too. Like, I tell people, I'm like, don't cover this with a bunch of shit. Like, it tastes so good by itself. Like, we're so used to a product that we have to like pour spices and salt, and I'm like, don't touch it. Like, salt. That's all you need. Like the other day, I top sirloin, and I didn't put anything on. I was like, this is so good. Like, this is so good. And so I made ossobuco, and I barely put anything in the pot with it. Like, because I wanted to really, you know, show people. And it was so funny. This guy, like, I wish I filmed him. I was like, this is what I need to do, is like filming people's first time tasting dairy beef. And he was just like, you know, sometimes something's just so good, the rest of the world fades away. I was like, thank you.
what a compliment. Like that's like I mean, my God. Okay.
And that's what I'm like trying to. I mean, like it's such. I didn't because it's all just like I said, the chalkboard with all things written all over it. Not realizing like how much it needs to be broken down to feel accessible to people, and so that's been one of my missions too. Is like helping people feel confident with it. And then you have to like show them too, not just tell them, but like taste it and be like, yeah, I literally just put this in the spot, press a button, walked away, I poured like 3 things on it, and that was it. And like, so, yeah, just encouraging people. Well, me just first finding out what was foreign to people. That's still a process. Like I learned that top sirloin is just something that people aren't used to either. And I was like, okay, so like I'm going to be running a special on like spend $200 to get a top sirloin. Because I was just like, I need you to try this. And that's been, I mean, the challenges of dairy beef are literally endless as to why this is not a thing. And one of it too is like lesser cuts are still high end on a nice dairy cow. So like are you familiar with Ranch Butcher Chef over in Bend?
Yeah, I actually I'll tell you more about that here offline because confidentiality stuff. But yeah, very familiar. Very.
Yeah. So Will, the owner, they've sourced the beef a couple times for the restaurant. And he was talking to me the other day. He bought some steaks, and he was like, "The top sirloin." I didn't even prompt him. I was like, "Thank you." He was like, "The top sirloin, like that is batting out of its league." He's like, "It's like a ribeye in New York," and I was like, "Yeah, like the hurdles that of every single freaking step." It's like, but once they get it, and like that was like one of my best customers in California because I shipped nationwide, and he was like, "This is the beef everyone wants, they just don't know it." And he's like, I was like, "You're not as nice as Phil. Don't order my beef." Like he's been so amazing, and yeah, because he was like, he'll fly in beef from all around the world, like always wants the best stuff, and he was like, "This is it. Like this is the product." And I was like, "I believe you. If you say that, I believe you." And yeah, it's just like, it's just getting it into people's hands and plates and trying it. And then once they try it, like, they can't go back. So, but getting them to that spot, because you're also then dealing with like the price point. They're like, "Why is it so expensive?" And I'm like, "Actually, all beef should cost this. All those prices you're seeing are screwing over ranchers." So that's it too, and I'm refuse to lower prices, and I'm leaning more into education because I'm like, again, we literally cannot afford to charge less for beef and like not have people understand why and what is happening. So I was like, no, I will not lower my prices, but I can tell you why it costs this much.
Yeah, well, that's a beautiful thing, and I think again, I'm a big proponent of I'm anti-consumerism, and I think that consumerism has really driven us to this idea of like we have to have everything so available. It's like it drives me nuts with restaurants, right? Is you walk into a restaurant like the Cheesecake Factory is a great example of something that I can't stand in the restaurant world. Is you've got 12 pages of all this nonsense of like 17 different cuisines, and everybody can get what anybody wants. Like that is destroying America. Like, that's destroying our food chain, right?
Yep.
Is this idea in our heads that I could get what I want when I want it, anytime I want it, and if I don't get it, then I'm gonna bitch and complain and tell you what I think. Well, it's like no, that's not how sustainability is ever going to work. And
No.
the people that are the loudest about like, oh, we need sustainability, blah 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 blah, are the ones that go to fucking Cheesecake Factory and order spring rolls alongside a fucking Italian pasta. Like, no, like that's not how this works. Like, you have to be okay with learning oh, this is how you braise beef. This is how you make oxtails. This is how I can, grill a ribeye. This is how a sirloin really tastes great. Like,
Yeah.
and so I think that hitting that point of that education and explaining why this is the thing is so important. And I'd love to hear that you're doing that.
Well, that's like, because I've had a lot of restaurants approach me, and like Michelin star restaurants in LA have called me. I had like the Four Seasons call me, and like I said no, because I was like, truly, I will not let beef leave my hands that doesn't come with a message. And I was like, if this just goes on your menu and I sell it to you for a lower price, that's a dead end. Like, people are going to be like, oh, that was really good. But how many times do you go to a restaurant and look at the ranch on the menu, look it up, go buy it? I mean, maybe, you do. But like, no one does that. So
we're not the people to say that to. Yeah.
It's like, it's such a dead end, and you've just sold it at a lower price. And I'm like, at this point, that's not worth it. Like, it has to come with a message attached to it, or something, or a QR code. Like, it's got to have something. Like,
I've got an idea. I've got an idea.
To put on there.
Yeah, I've got an idea. Well, again, we'll get offline and we'll talk about that. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, because I think it's a good one.
I love it. But yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So, you and I are going to wind up talking for way too long, and I think that people can listen to this, because I feel like this is a really good energy podcast. I think this is like, we're nailing it. I want to go back. I want to go back to the utilization of the whole animal. So this is not just like, oh, eat some beef. Like, this is skincare, beard balm perked my ears, so I'm aware. But you're also doing leather goods as well, so like, this is truly, and then the bone broth, like, so you're really just going 100% all in, utilize the entire animal, the amount of love, kindness, and respect that you're giving to these creatures in order to sustain life, sustain our health. It's unreal. Like, that's not what people do. And that's so fucking cool. Like, it's so cool.
Yeah, and like the tallow line, because we did a whole relabeling this year. My friend, I mean, I've had like, it was so funny, the like team that I had this summer for markets, and just like, so I hired a marketing company in May, and because that was, again, like my brain's shorting out with all the side tangents. But like, to get back to our original question of USDA processing softened, so I was able to finally start getting USDA, and so it was like we started doing farmers markets and stuff, because then I could use the meat in it. And I hired a marketing company in May, and things just like really exploded. And I had to like, oh, okay, now there's a lot of eyes on this, like, tighten shit. And so like did a whole rebranding of like the labels. I'm just like printing all of these in my house, like labels everywhere. Girls just picking labels on jars for me the night before, just like shit. Like, it's just like, it's just in this funny juxtaposition of like what I think people think is like this like operation warehouse, and I'm like, it's me in my friend's garage, like packing your order. And so with the tallow products, I was like, these are going to be like ninjas into places beef can't go, so that it can like, again, draw people back to the product. It was just like, this has to have the farthest reach possible. So I put like QR codes on every product, the story on it, like, again, that to get the biggest capture and not just have it be a dead end of like, oh, this is cool tallow soap. It's like, yeah, you can also actually like order the beef and do this, and like, and the dairy cow fat, because we talked about the color, but it's also the texture and the flavor. Like, I mean, the whole dairy cow steak is just like nothing you've ever had. And the fat is this buttery, it's sweet, like, I'll cut off the chunks and fry them again and eat them. Whereas, like, if I get a ribeye at the restaurant, I'm cutting that center thing out and just, like, putting it to the side. But this stuff, I'm just, like, eating the fat straight. It's so good. And that's translated into the tallow products, and it makes a superior tallow product as well, because that creaminess, the way it absorbs. So it's even those tallow products are totally different product than like other tallow stuff on the market. Like I've had a lot of people feel like, oh, like the other stuff I tried was really tacky or sticky, but this just like absorbs. And I was like, that's the dairy cow magic. And really obsessing over like we double purify it so it doesn't smell like beef, doesn't have that stink, it's shelf stable. And then I translated some of my like skincare business stuff to the tallow products. And so every element of what goes into them, like the face cream is my bestseller, and it stemmed from this face oil that I had made that I don't know how many hours I spent on that thing. So figuring out like the most perfect face oil in the world, between like the oils added to it, the essential oils in it, and like what they do for your skin, for this, for that, and like so every single product, every steak, every tallow product, I was just like obsessed over and like reworked until it's the best. And so yeah, so I was like, I'm making all the tallow products in my friend's kitchen, and we're just like we sit the whole days and just like hand make everything along with that too.
It's amazing. I am so happy that I was able to connect with you and get this conversation. Like, I feel like this is literally going to set a precedence for the rest of the year for me. And no bullshit. Like, it's a reminder that this is what community and food can do, right? Like these are the steps that people have to take in order to get there, and it takes leaders like yourself to make that happen. And so I'm gonna take this one with me. Let's close up for right now. We're gonna have to come back and do another recording at some point and just go back through. I know it's like
Yeah, but what was I going to say about the whole animal butchery?
Oh yeah, let's go. Here we go.
Is that was something too. So Morena really taught me, like, again, it was like all the layers of each cow. It wasn't just like we weren't just cutting them up like regular cows either. It was like, how do we make the most of every single part of this particular cow? So she taught me about breaking down the chucks, and so we like pull out the flat iron, pull out the Denver, pull out the chuck eye. Like, that's what they were also getting on these like custom exempt shares. So you have to flat iron, the Denver, and 45-day dried steaks. And she would explain to me too, like she would tell me like about I wish I recorded her. She has just these magical moments where it's just like she can't repeat them, or she just like disappears into another universe talking to you about a piece of meat. And she did that with my top rounds one day, and I was like, God, I wish I had this on recording. And she was just like, your top rounds, like, she's like, I like to just feel them. She was like, the marbling is just so beautiful. And she was like, if the marbling's made it to the top round, then like your whole cow, like, and she was just like, even your top rounds are like premium steaks. And so that's like just added to the educational factor too, because people are used to like top round being like a lesser cut and all that. And so, yeah, she really taught me about maximizing even within each cow. And now the processors that I work with, and I think that's something people also understand, like I have to pay so much extra to get all this done because it's so out of their realm. Like this whole business has just been talking my way into things. Like, I promise you will be so appreciated. Just tell me the price tag. Like, what can we make happen? And like, I've gotten a lot of like, you don't normally do this, but I'm like, thank you. And so like, I'm now, breaking down the bottom rounds into like 1 pound stew things and the top round into kebab. And like, again, now we're talking like that extra step. Like I thought people would just cut up their roasts how they wanted them, but like, no, a giant roast was too intimidating. It's like, okay, I make the bottom rounds into stew, this into stir fry. This, we're doing belly bacon out of the cows because like the belly just gets put into burger. It's like pull the hanger, pull the oyster. That was another one that Marina taught me about was the oyster. Like all these little cuts. And so I've been working with like my processors now to establish that relationship. And I'm like, I promise it's worth it. Like this isn't in vain because it's like getting dry aging in USDA is not a thing. Like, and because I actually was able to wrangle USDA dry aging. I put out a thing on Instagram. So I was like, I have to get this for this contest in Wyoming. So it was like, they'd written me, it's called Best Beef in the West. And we're like, will you come out? I've never had dairy beef. And I was like, I have to nail this. And so I put out this thing. I was like, does anyone know USDA dry aging? And someone told me about this place that might consider it. And I wrote them and they were like, we don't normally do this, but this sounds cool. We want to support you. We'll do it. So they I had to ship the carcasses to them. They were out of state. Which is a whole thing because my cattle are over 30 months, which is then like this whole other paperwork issue. Like it's literally every step is harder.
Why do easy things when you can do hard things?
Why always make me look complicated? Because it's so delicious. And so they did this whole dry aging thing for me. And then for like a year, that's what I was doing. I was shipping these carcasses because no one would want to do it for 45 days. So I would have like a place in Oregon, kill it, keep it for 2 weeks. Then I would pay to ship it out of state. They would do it another 30 days. Then I would have to go drive and get it, bring it down. Like it was just this. I was like, we have to do this. We have to. And it was actually one of those steaks I got, and I just sold it for $250 a pound. And it went, people grabbed it. And it was insane. I mean, it's like nothing you've ever seen or tasted. And I was like, okay, that's why we're doing this. That's why we're obsessing over this. Because you get a product like that. So, yeah, really using them to their max.
That's amazing. Congratulations on that as well. That's and I don't think that most people won't understand how big of a deal that is to even be mentioned in that company with Best Beef of the West, because Best Beef of the West is that's so you take any let's see here, what do people recognize in Oregon? Okay, breweries, right? Like Best in the West beers. This is even more important than that, because this is this is ego, this is emotion, it's passion, it's care, and it's all in one place. And it is people are very serious. These guys, the people that judge that particular contest, they have been doing this for 30, 40, 50 fucking years. This isn't just, Bob and Sue down the road that really like to eat beef. And nothing against Bob and Sue. They're great customers. I love them. But these are people that know what they're talking about. They've essentially dictated the top end beef industry in America for a long time, and that's huge. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, and dairy beef, and that's only my last thing. It's very interesting because it triggers people. It triggers. It's wild. People that have maybe had it, they're like, oh, I grew up on it and it was, chewy and crap. And defiant vehemently again. It's just you can't get steaks. And I mean, that's what everyone told me. They're like, you're not going to get steaks out of these cows. And I was just like, okay, well, here we go. And, and even if they've had it, or the beef guys are triggered by it because they're like, how dare, someone turn a dairy cow into a good steak. And it's wild. I've had just people be like, you need to explain to me why I should try this. And I'm like, I'm going to give you the elevator pitch, and if that's not good, but I'm not going to keep trying to convince you. It's wild how triggered people are by a dairy cow steak. It really is a truth serum, I guess.
It kind of is. It really is.
And just people don't want to step out of their comfort zone. Like, how dare you give something to me different?
Yeah. How dare you change the idea? Like, that's not possible. I always love it when people say, well, you can't do that. And so you are a fantastic, what was that? There was a show on one of the TVs that was about entrepreneurs. But anyways, they were talking about like what makes what was that tag word? Disruptors. Disruptors were so important like 4 years ago. Like everybody kept throwing the word disruptor around. Oh, Silicon Valley is what that show was. You know, they called them disruptors. But that's exactly what folks like yourself are doing, is you're completely upending a industry that has been so driven on this is the way. And you're saying, well, actually, we can do better. And that, again, like, I'm going to just keep telling you how important what you're doing is. Like, it's just awesome. You know, and I love to hear it.
Well, the way is why it's dying. Like, they're like, it's not actually anymore. Like, it's a little different now. So you gotta, get up to the times, and not to even like mention being a female in the industry. Like,
oh yeah,
of a whole other hurdle. Yeah, and it's like there's a lot that would rather die on their hill of being right than accept something new and watch the industry continue. Like, and it's just, yeah. So many reasons. But we're going to stop now. We have so many things to talk about.
We didn't even talk about how broken the food chain is here. So we'll come back and we'll talk about that next time. And that's another 2.5 hours we can talk about that. Yeah. Rachel, thank you so much. Like, your passion shines through, your laugh, your smile. Like, you're absolutely killing it. Thank you for getting uncomfortable and doing something that's not mainstream, that's not in line with the normal, and just fucking doing it. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna list all the things, all the places where people can find you. And if you're listening, follow along. Rachel's content is hilarious. It's very educational. Like, it's enjoyable. Like, it's not just doom scrolling. Like, you actually learn something when you watch and see, and you'll see the passion that you have for the animals. I really appreciate you taking the time to sit with me today. I look forward to the next time we get to do this.
Thank you. Me too.
You betcha. Have a fantastic day. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
What a way to start it. That's it for this episode of Here From Where. Thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed the conversation, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. A huge thanks to Justin Pitaleski for the music and sound production, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep moving forward. All the best, and happy cooking.